Welcome to Domnai Radio and Television Station. Here comes to the news today. The Office of the National Assembly of Vietnam announced that the 20th section of the National Assembly Standing Committee is expected to open on February 13, 2023 and close on February 15, 2023 at the Tân Trào Meeting Room, the National Assembly House. At this meeting, the National Assembly Standing Committee will consider and decide to establish several administrative units at district and commune levels in the provinces of An Giang, Bắc Ninh, Bắc Cạn, Bến Tre, Bình Dương, and Đắk Lắk, Quảng Nam, Thái Nguyên, Trà Vinh, Vĩnh Phúc. Regarding the law-making work, the National Assembly Standing Committee considers and gives opinion on some major issues. Have different opinions on the civil defense law projects, the projects of the law on protection of consumer rights amended, the project on the law on electric transactions amended, draft decree on protection of personal data, draft resolution on tasks, powers and structure and organization of the Secretariat, and many other important issues. At the home of Sonalizi Long Bình Johnstock Company on February 11th, the People's Committee of Dong Nai Province held a conference to implement Decree number 35 dated May 28, 2022 of the government regulating the management of industrial zones and economic zones. At the conference, Mr. Lê Quốc Trung, representing the Ministry of Planning and Investment, implementing the main contents and new points of Decree 35, dated May 28, 2022, of the government. Accordingly, Decree 35 amends and supplements regulations on the planning of industrial parks and economic zones to be consistent with the provisions of the law on planning. The decree stipulates the conditions and principles for determining the number and the size of areas and cases of adjustment of industrial parks and economic zones to shorten the time and safeguards for locality in the process of splitting up industrial parks and economic zones. Appraise and adjust the planning of industrial parks and economic zones in the regional and provincial planning. The decree also specifically stipulates the consideration and approval of investment policies on investment projects, construction and business of infrastructure of industrial zones. After the 2023 Lunar New Year holiday, up to now, the production and business situation at the enterprises in Dong Han District, Dong Nai Province have returned to normal. Cửa hàng company in An Phước Commune, Long Thành District, specializes in manufacturing bicycle frames for export to European countries. The production situation in the units is relatively stable. Orders are abundant. Currently, workers are reducing last year's outstanding orders before counting this year's orders. Thanh Long Company in Long Thành, with over 750 employees, is also one of the stable production units in the district. The company specializes in the production of stationery, which exports more than 50% of its output. Currently, the company is accelerating to serve orders in the first 3 quarters of 2023. Tens of thousands of Iranian government supporters took to the trip on February 11th to mark the 44th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution and the country's National Day. Participating in the event, many people wrote their national flags and rallied at Azadi Square despite the cold weather. They chanted anti-American, anti-Israeli and Western slogans. President Arahim Raisi addressed the crowd in the square along with the demonstrations of ballistic missiles and drones. The 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, which overthrew the royal American Mohammad Reza Pahlavi dynasty during Muslims' rise to power, was a turning point in Iran's history. Ukraine on February 11th learned that Russia carried out a large-scale attack on key energy facilities in Ukraine's military-industrial complex. Ukraine's defense ministry says Russian forces have fired more than 100 missiles that target infrastructures and other facilities across the country. Ukraine added that Russia fired 106 missiles in a major strike and 61 of them were shot down by Ukrainian air defense. The mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Skiskov, said that debris from the Russian missile damaged vehicles and roofs. This is the end of our news today. Thanks for watching. Have a good time. Goodbye.